On August 3rd, southern regions of Russia faced a series of extreme weather events, including torrential rains, floods, tornadoes, and landslides, severely impacting the Krasnodar Krai and Kabardino-Balkaria areas. In the coastal region of Tuapse, heavy rainfall caused infrastructure failures, including collapsed bridges, prompting regional authorities to declare a state of emergency. Temporary shelters were opened for displaced residents. The storm responsible for the disaster also included a tornado, increasing the threat level for locals, tourists, and government response teams. Evacuation efforts were coordinated by Russia's Ministry of Emergency Situations and other response units. In the tourist town of Goryachy Klyuch, around 130 tourists were stranded when a shallow river crossing overflowed due to continuous rainfall. Additionally, a group of 17 tourists required emergency rescue, including one person with a broken leg. Medical teams acted swiftly and moved all affected individuals to safe zones. Rescue operations intensified in Goryachy Klyuch, evacuating about 40 people from high-risk areas. Over 70 homes were flooded, displacing local families. In the village of Lermontovo, the Shapsuko River overflowed and destroyed a bridge, isolating around 300 households. At the same time, a landslide near Moldavansk blocked access roads, forcing authorities to implement reversible traffic flows in the Jubga area. In Agoi, a tornado was spotted on a coastal beach, prompting local officials to issue preemptive evacuation warnings. In the areas near Sochi and Tuapse, persistent rainfall complicated rescue operations and increased flood risks in coastal zones. The Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations officially declared a state of emergency in the Tuapse district due to the extent of the flooding. Kuban Governor Veniamin Kondratiev deployed over 150 emergency personnel and 44 specialized equipment units. Operations focused on rescuing tourists and residents, evacuating those affected, mitigating flood damage, and restoring infrastructure. In the first days of August, the Tuapse region experienced one of the worst natural disasters in its recent history, as rains, floods, cyclones, and infrastructure failures combined to collapse bridges, overflow rivers, and flood hundreds of buildings. The cyclone stalled over the Black Sea caused intense rainfall that, in just 12 hours, reached levels equivalent to a month's worth of normal precipitation. As a result, the Defan River rose rapidly and overflowed, affecting residential areas and infrastructure. Tuapse's geographical location, surrounded by mountains and valleys, channeled the water flow downward, intensifying the flooding's impact. In coastal neighborhoods like Lermontovo and Agoi, tornadoes were observed that added to structural damage. In settlements such as Lermontovo, Novo, Mykolaiv, Skoyer, Aljinka, and Defanovka, severe damage was reported to private properties, farmland, and infrastructure lines. Several rural roads were covered in mud, and some bridges collapsed, especially in Defanovka. In the suburbs of Tuapse, floods affected homes, gardens, and roads. Landslides blocked streams, altered natural watercourses, and created new water channels. Regional authorities declared an emergency in the early hours of the disaster, and the emergency ministry organized evacuations and set up shelters in schools, sanatoriums, and children's camps. Food, water, medicine, and clothing were distributed to displaced individuals. Some villages were cut off by land, with rescue teams arriving by air or using improvised routes. Most tourist facilities in Tuapse, such as sanatoriums and hotels, were unaffected due to their higher locations, avoiding a mass evacuation of tourists. However, tourist visits declined, and reservations were canceled due to fear of further rainfall. Some main roads, like the Don Highway, were temporarily closed due to mud flows. In Lermontovo, the collapse of the bridge over the Shapsuko River isolated 300 households. Nevertheless, some routes were reopened within days, and traffic began to partially normalize. The government provided financial support to citizens who suffered material losses. Compensation payments were initiated, rapid damage assessments were conducted, and aid programs were launched for small businesses particularly in the tourism and commercial sectors. Experts noted that the disaster cannot be attributed solely to local weather conditions. They pointed out that extreme weather events on the Black Sea coast have become more frequent in recent years. Climate scientists stated that this disaster is a direct consequence of climate change, with rising temperatures, unstable atmospheric fronts, and the interaction of humid air currents with the mountains leading to more intense rainfall.
Ще приколюх